It's the 8th qualifier, and I think the cars are going to be spending more time in the air than they are on the track. Welcome to Junkyard Joust, everybody. I'm your host, Aaron Yonda, and these are today's competitors, including an unassuming semi-truck in the upper right up there with a little ramp on the back. That ought to make things interesting. First up, we've got They See Me Rollin'. We've got some chrome going on with these cars, and in the case of this 53 Cadillac, Rhinestones, sponsored by Jenkins Velma. That's a cool car. Rev Rod, sponsored by Judy Collins. The 77 Dodge Van, sponsored by Julian Equals Monterfreund Schaff, drinking beer and talking trains every first Tuesday of the month. Papa Wheelie, sponsored by the Aqua Lord. Visit Aqua House. Rising Heat, sponsored by Judy Collins also. Next up is Weiner Magic. Here's some cars you probably recognize. Of course, the Wienermobile, the main Magic in Weiner Magic, sponsored by Sloth's Automotive, Sachet, and Buffet. And here's a blast from the past, Starsky and Hutch from way back in the 1970s. Speaking of time travel, it's the DeLorean, sponsored by Sean and Patrick Hogan. The Ecto-1 Ain't Afraid of No Crash, sponsored by Birmingham Cardboard Slingers. And lastly, Yoda, it is, by Sid from Cybertron, sponsored. It will be. The pop culture parade continues. Next up, we've got Tool Time with Tim the Toolman Taylor, of course, and his buddy Al. First up, it's Tim's Dixie Chopper, sponsored by Regal Radio. The classic Nomad, also sponsored by Regal Radio. Who sent this entire team? The Austin Healey, sponsored by AJ's Performance Tuning and Rod Throwing. Buy 9 rebuilds, get the 10th free. The 33 Ford Roadster, sponsored by Mad Scientist. And the 2019 Chevy Silverado, sponsored by Woeful Fiber Art. That does not look safe, Al. Here's a tasty looking team. It's Sugar Crash. Sugar Crash is a heavy team, just like you'd feel if you ait too many of any of these treats. Raisinette, sponsored by Wayland Enterprises International, 89 grams. Crunch is 82 grams, sponsored by Brendan Walsh. 100 Grand, sponsored by Maypole Records, home of Courtney Collins Music. Butterfinger, sponsored by Too Cheap For You Joey Gold. And Chunky, sponsored by Chome, The Spice Must Flow. And last up, we've got the Industrial Accidents. This is a heavy-duty team. First up, it's Street Cleaner, sponsored by Hey Steve Productions. The Recycler. Tractor Digger, sponsored by Ellis Wertenberger. The NASA Anteater, sponsored by Emo Dingo. Looks like it used to carry rockets. And Helicopter Transport, with that ramp on the back that's going to make things interesting today, sponsored by Swedenborg Smorgasbord, fueling your day on a sandwich and a dream. The rules for Junkyard Joust are simple: survive. Each team takes turns sending a car down the track. The teams get to choose which car they send down, and that's where the strategy comes in. If you're sideways or upside down at the end of the round, you're out. Each team gets points for each car that they have left at the end of a round. The running order's up, so let's head over to the track and begin the destruction. Starting for Sugar Crash, it is Crunch. Crunch crunches into the back of Evil Weevil and heads up to the front of the track, and now we're going to get the Austin Healey for Tool Time. The Austin Healey bashes into the back of Crunch, but he's not going anywhere. Don't forget the team order is random, but the teams get to decide which cars on their team go down when. Bustin' makes him feel good, makes me feel good too. For Weiner Magic, it's the Ecto-1. Ecto-1 slots into place nicely on the track. That's a pretty heavy car. It's gonna be hard to get that thing moving around too easily. And it looks like the Industrial Accidents want to get Helicopter Transport down on the track as soon as they can, so he's going down right now. Takes his place nice on the track, and there is that ramp that is going to cause some trouble for all of our competitors today. And we don't have a whole lot of undercutting going on today with any of these cars, so I don't know if anyone's going to be able to get underneath that thing. Papa Wheelie is going to be the first one to take the plunge, but They See Me Rollin', and Papa Wheelie pops a nice big wheelie. In fact, its whole car takes off into the stratosphere, lands down at the end of the crates, and almost recovers, except hits that crate. So that car has some interesting balance, but he can't quite make a recovery. Butterfinger's up now for Sugar Crash. Whoa, that thing went flying there. Butterfinger goes up in the air. It's a big truck, flies over the top of the Helicopter Transport, nicks Ghostbusters, and flops around a little bit, and somehow flips over enough to land upright off the track. An amazing recovery there by Butterfinger. And now Tim's gonna take the Dixie Chopper down the track. This does not seem like a good idea. He doesn't really look strapped into this thing. This is a really ill-advised move, I think. And wow, I don't even know what happened there. It looks like he just tumbled straight off of the track. I think the big wheels on the back of this thing are more of a liability than anything. We're gonna have to try that again. Oh, as expected, Tim does not stay in his seat. He goes flying, I'd say at about a level 4 height there, and his mower just lands straight where I assume the helicopter goes, on the back of this truck. That was kind of an amazing recovery by his vehicle, and Tim kind of landed on his feet and then rolled a few times. He'll probably be fine. Next up for Weiner Magic, it's the Wienermobile. Whoa, that is indeed a magic wiener. Look at how high and how far that thing goes. Looks like the Wienermobile made it all the way to level 7. And it flies all the way down to the end of the crates. And again, the crates impede a recovery for another vehicle. The Recycler is up next for industrial accidents. The Recycler goes off the back of his own teammate and gets hung up on that mower, flips over a few times, and does not make a recovery. The mower, however, is fine. Something industrial accidents have to be thinking about here is what they're doing to their own teammates with that helicopter transport truck. He's just causing the doom of some of his own teammates. So this may or may not end up being a great thing for their team. We'll have to see. Rising Heat's up next for They See Me Rolling. Rising Heat goes tap dancing along the top of all the cars and makes a superb recovery. Manages to squeeze out in between the two candy bar trucks down there at the end of the track. Raisinets is up next, and interestingly, this truck looks a little bit like one of those Beatles trucks we had last week. Raisinets goes flying off the back of the truck and hits Crunch and cannot maintain balance. Tips off to the right. That is going to be the end probably for Raisinets. That Beatles truck made it all the way to the end, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen for this truck. The Silverado, the Tool Time trailer, and Al himself are up for Tool Time. Good luck, Al. Oh, wow. I don't even know what happened there. It looks like the trailer just immediately fell off of the truck and plummeted into a big pile of old wrecked cars. The Chevy flips upside down. Al is probably decapitated, and then the Chevy goes completely sideways. Somehow Al managed to stay in the back of that truck just until the very end. But yep, I think it's curtains for them, and there is that trailer over back underneath the actual track. I think we're just gonna leave it there. Now it's Yoda up for Weiner Magic. Yoda was in the Star Wars special event and did quite well. Oh no! Yoda bounces all over the place and goes upside down, flips, hits Crunch, keeps going, and cannot manage a recovery. This is something that Yoda did all the time in the Star Wars special with great success, but it was not in the cards today. Well, you know what, Yoda? Failure, the greatest teacher is. I think that's what Yoda says. Street Cleaner's up for industrial accidents. The Street Cleaner, oh wow. Street Cleaner actually hits the back of the transport and pushes it up a little bit on the track. So he is nearly eliminated, but he could recover. However, we've got something interesting happening. The back of that ramp is now up in the air. And the 77 Dodge van has a nice low front bumper. This could be good. And it is! The van slams into the back of the ramp, and it looks like that ramp might be out of commission depending on what happens with the next couple of cars. Next up is Chunky for Sugar Crash. This is kind of a blocky car. It probably won't knock that van off, and it doesn't quite knock the Chunky van off. Pushes everybody up, including the Ecto 1. Oh, and Al's getting kind of scraped along some cars there. That's rough. Here comes the 33 Ford Roadster for Tool Time. The Roadster knocks the 77 Dodge van off, but the van makes a nice recovery there, and that ramp is still up, so everybody can breathe a sigh of relief. Starsky and Hutch are up for Weiner Magic. Starsky and Hutch, oh wow, they go off the back of that Roadster and immediately go upside down. That is a rough debut for Starsky and Hutch. Very disappointing. Tractor Digger's up for industrial accidents. The Tractor Digger very nicely collides with the back of the Roadster and kind of goes underneath it. That is actually an effective way to stop any damage from happening to the Tractor Digger. 53 Cadillac with the Rhinestones is up next. A big hit there at the back of the Tractor Digger, but there's nowhere to go. I think this is the farthest we've been backed up the track so far in these qualifiers. We are almost up to where the hill begins. 100 grand is up now. Solid hit on the back of the Cadillac, and a Rhinestone goes flying off, and that big truck up front is starting to get pushed off the track. That is no mean feat. Classic Nomad for Tool Time. Classic Nomad does some good pushing there, but it bounces on the hill part of this track and actually flips over. So the hill part of the track is actually affecting some of the activity here with the car in that more bouncy area of the track. Here comes the DeLorean for Weiner Magic. The DeLorean smacks that Nomad off the track, and she actually makes a recovery, which is pretty amazing, all things considered. Lucky break there for the Nomad. The 91-gram NASA Anteater is up next for the industrial accident. The Anteater pushes a bunch of cars forward and actually gets the Cadillac to start going underneath the digger, but we are getting backed up farther and farther on the track. Now it's the Rev Rod's turn. It's the final car of this first round. The Rev Rod boots the back of the semi off the track, but cannot get him off and doesn't really manage to make anything else happen. Taking a look at the battlefield here, it looks like we're going to lose about 8 cars this time, which is actually surprising considering we had the ramp of that truck out there. Aftermath, we've got 2 losses for the industrial accident. Only 1 car apiece for Roland, Crash, and Tool Time, and Weiner Magic takes 3 big losses in this round. Sugar Crash, They See Me Rolling, and Tool Time are each going to get 4 points. Industrial Accidents at 3 and Weiner at 2. Tool Time is going to take to the track first this time around, and they're going to start with the 33 Ford Roadster. Let's joust. The Roadster takes to the track, pretty solid hit there, and kind of bounces back a little bit. And next up is going to be the 53 Cadillac full of rhinestones. Wham! Nice big hit from the Cadillac, and the Roadster is just tossed right off, as well as a couple of rhinestones that came loose from the Cadillac. I think Tool Time thought they might set up sort of a ramp off the back of that Roadster, but the Cadillac took care of that plan. Crunch is up now for Crash. Crunch smacks into the back of the Cadillac, and a couple more rhinestones get blasted loose. And now both these vehicles are a little bit vulnerable on the track. And now Industrial Accidents want to get this guy down on the bottom of the track as fast as they can and start causing trouble. They knock off both the Cadillac and Crunch, but they are fine and dandy off to the side of the track. But the helicopter transport is set up perfectly now, right up at the front. This is about to get devastating. DeLorean's up for Weiner Magic. Wow, an amazing jump there by the DeLorean. Jumps right over the vehicle. Marty McFlies into the crate and then lands right side up and actually takes the place of that semi at the front of the track. I don't know how he did that. Feels like there might have been a little time travel involved. Some serious flux capacity created up there at the front of the track. Dixie Chopper is gonna hit the back of that truck now. Let's see what happened. I hope Tim's okay. And the Dixie Chopper slides off the back of the truck and just kind of plops over in a really bad position. Tim should have just kept driving backwards and got that thing off of there. Oh, and the Cadillac's been flipped over for They See Me Rolling over there up towards the front. We'll see if that sticks. Next up, speaking of They See Me Rolling, it's 77 Dodge Van. The van just smacks Tim the Toolman off on his head and he recovers, and so does the van. They both make a miraculous recovery, a lot of bouncing around, and somehow they're both fine. That was a great run. And now it's time for Chunky to take a ride on the back of that semi. Ooh, a nice low jump there from Chunky. Keeps it low, keeps it steady, lands on the top of that DeLorean, and then turns off the crates and manages to recover perfectly on top of a couple other vehicles. It's time for the NASA Anteater. Looks like this is probably a retired NASA truck that used to carry rockets or something. Ooh, the Anteater gives a big hit to the back of that transporter, turns over sideways, and unfortunately, the only vehicle that's been eliminated by the transporter so far in this round is his own teammate. Let's see what happens when the Ecto-1 hits that ramp. The Ecto-1 goes off the back of the transporter, hits the front of the crates, and goes upside down, and then very supernaturally flips itself right side up again. That's pretty amazing and a great recovery for a team that only has 2 cars in this match right now. Tool Time's going to send down the Austin Healey, and it's going to be flying. Austin Healey goes smash into the crates, bounces back and actually pushes the transport back, but he is almost sideways right now. It is not a good position to be in right there. Next up for that jump, it's going to be the Rev Rod. They see me rolling. Not surprisingly, the Rev Rod slams off the back of the jump into the crates, twist around. It looks like they're going to go upside down, but then somehow they come back and land right side up. Another vehicle foils that transport truck. Industrial Accidents got to be wondering whether their strategy is working here. 100 grand is up for Sugar Crash. 100 grand goes off the back, and well, the strategy does work this time because 100 grand flips right upside down on top of the DeLorean, and that's pretty much unrecoverable. So there, you know, finally, you got a couple of vehicles that did not make that jump successfully. Next up is the Tractor Digger for Industrial Accidents. Should be interesting to see what that scoop does on the Tractor Digger. And it slowly approaches the back of the transport and just goes to a stop, gently lifts up the ramp, and is completely safe. Almost feels like Industrial Accidents kind of planned to do it this way. Classic Nomad is up next. Hits the back of the digger, but there's nowhere to go. Locked right in on the back of the transport, and it looks like cars are going to start backing up again. Second to last car of this round is Rising Heat for They See Me Rolling. Rising Heat slams Classic Nomad, cannot get underneath, unfortunately for him, and he's just stuck there. Final car of the round is going to be Butterfinger. A heavy hit from Butterfinger there, and Rising Heat, a pretty light car, is flipped upside down. He was so close to making it through this round and couldn't quite pull it out right there. Looking at the wreckage, there are about 5 cars sideways or upside down right now, which means that there are 2 teams with 3 left, Sugar Crash and Tool Time, and all the other teams have 2 left. Weiner Magic, with their 2 cars from the first round, still have the same 2 cars. Taking a look at the scoreboards, you've got Sugar Crash and Tool Time tied first with 10 points. They See Me Rolling a third with 8. Sugar Crash is going to start us out this time with the Butterfinger Truck. Butterfinger slots into place up at the front of the track, and Tool Time's going to send down the Roadster. And the Roadster hits the back of Butterfinger and goes curbside. I think they were trying to set up the back of that car as a ramp again, but that's not happening, and now they are in trouble when that Ecto-1 slams into them. Ecto-1 slams into the back of the Roadster, but actually pushes him straight, and now he's relatively secure on the track. And now Roland's gonna send down the van. And a big hit from the Dodge there, but nobody's moving, so the Dodge is actually forced back on the track. And here comes the helicopter transport, gonna set up that jump again. The transport smacks into the back of that van, and look at this, the Roadster is finally squeezed off the track upside down. That's probably it for him. Now we're gonna find out if this ramp does more damage than it did last round. Chunky's gonna take the dive first. Ooh, a long jump there from Chunky, but he can't make the recovery. Let's see what happened. He bounced off the top of a couple cars, and then he hits Butterfinger and kind of flips over and cannot recover down to the end of the track sideways, and probably out of this match. Dixie Chopper's up next for Tool Time. Here comes Tim. The Dixie Chopper makes it all the way onto the back of the transport. Tim, however, does not make it and flies off into the mud, and he's sitting there upside down. That's not really a safe place to be. And now the DeLorean's gonna hit the track. Let's see if he makes it to 88 miles per hour. Wow, a flawless jump there from the DeLorean. This thing spends so much time in the air, I think it must be the DeLorean from the future. Oh, and look at that. Tim's lawnmower falls off of the transport, and on top of him, not only is that Dixie Chopper probably out of this match, but Tim is crushed by his own vehicle. And we did manage to get a speed reading with the old Hot Wheels speedometer, 91 miles per hour. I'm surprised that that car did not travel back in time. Here's another fast car, the Rev Rod for They See Me Rolling. The Rev Rod takes that jump like a pro. Look at that perfect arc all the way up to the front, almost hits a level 5, I'd say. Flips over a few times, but doesn't even matter. Lands right side up. Perfection. And here comes the Tractor Digger for Industrial Accidents. They have to send this one down now. And it just plops into the back and pushes up that ramp again. That is just a little too convenient. Industrial Accidents able to subvert their own jump. Crunch is up next. Crunch hits the back of that digger and can't get anything happening. Almost manages to knock the DeLorean over, but it does not get knocked. And the final car of this round is going to be the classic Nomad. The Nomad slams the back of Crunch and pushes him a little bit underneath the digger, but nothing going on there. Looks like 3 vehicles are out this time around. And looking at the aftermath, that leaves 4 teams with 2 cars apiece, and Tool Time, who lost 2 that time around, are down to just the Nomad. Points-wise, that makes Sugar Crash the leaders with 16 points. They see me rolling at 14, and Tool Time at 13, but in danger with only 1 car left. The running order is up for round 4. Here we go. Weiner Magic might not have their wiener anymore, but they still have their magic. Here comes Ecto-1 to take his place on the track. Weiner Magic have had 2 cars since round 2, but they are still going. They might not be winning the points battle, but ultimately, all you gotta do to survive is what just happened right there with the Ecto-1. Getting booted by Crunch, but then flipping over and driving off the track safe and sound. Great move there by Ecto-1. And here comes a helicopter transport, Industrial Accidents wanting to set up that jump as soon as they possibly can. And that's what they've done. A nice placement right there. Crunch is still basically on the track, so they should have a pretty solid base for that jump. The first car to take the plunge is going to be Rev Rod. Rev Rod has done some crazy stuff on this jump. I can't wait to see this one. And Rev Rod does it again. Up in the air, hits the crates and bounces off squarely, lands right side up. Amazing work by Rev Rod in this match so far, every time. Looks like the Nomad is up next. This is Tool Time's final car, so they gotta make this count. And they do! Nomad makes that jump with flying colors, lands it, hits the crates, and is in a pretty good position right there. It's pretty unlikely she's gonna get knocked over. And now it's just what the doc ordered. It's the Delorean up for Weiner Magic. Oh yeah, that was a jump right there. Look at that thing take flight and then biff Crunch on the nose. Perfect balance. Lands it as usual. That car is just made for flying through the air. That transporter is not doing any damage so far this round. Every car making it with flying colors. Butterfinger's up for Sugar Crash. Let's see if he can handle another jump off the back of the transporter. Butterfinger hits the jump and slams into the Delorean. There's just a little tap on the top of the transporter right there, and I think that might have did him in. That might be the first casualty there the transporters managed to make happen. And now the tractor digger's coming down, so that's the end of the ramp, I suspect. And yes, as usual, tractor digger shuts down that ramp nice and slow and safe for him. Now Roland sending down the 77 Dodge van. This is a vehicle that I did not expect to make it this far in the competition, but it has been doing quite well. Slams solidly into the digger right there, and that is the final vehicle for this round. We are going to be heading into round 5 of this competition. And with the elimination of Butterfinger, Sugar Crash goes down to 1 vehicle along with Tool Time. They've lost 1 vehicle every round. It's kind of odd. 2 cars left for every other team. That's going to drop Sugar Crash down to 3rd place. They See Me Rolling takes the lead with 22 points. It's a close match. Everybody's got a pretty similar amount of points right now. The running order is up. Industrial Accidents are going to be starting us off. I bet they're going to start off, yep, with the transport. Makes sense. They want to try to do some damage with that thing. Transport takes its place up at the front of the track, and the jump is in place. Here comes the Rev Rod. Hasn't had a problem with this jump so far in this match. And he does it again! An amazing jump! Some twisting after he makes it all the way over and somehow flips around and bounces off Evil Weevil, lands upright. An amazing recovery by that car every single time. You just can't take him down. That is a great competitor for Junkyard Joust, folks. Keep an eye on Rev Rod for the future. Speaking of the future, it's time for the Delorean to hit the track. Let's see if he can do it again. The Delorean makes the classic Delorean jump, but unfortunately this time takes a bad bounce at the end. He hits the crates and just flops upside down. Doesn't quite make the same amazing recovery he's done in the past. That's going to be a tough loss for Weiner Magic. They've been having great luck with the Delorean this whole match, and now they're just going to have to depend on the Ecto-1 to stay in the match. Crunch is up next for Sugar Crash. Crunch hits the back of the transport and just does a bunch of flipping around and spinning. Very unstable, and Crunch, well, he's a bit top heavy, so he does not fare well with that exchange. And that now is the final vehicle for Sugar Crash. If nothing else hits that truck and knocks it back upright, this match will become very sugarless very quick. And here comes Tool Time's final hope. It's the classic Nomad. Gotta make this jump. Classic Nomad does not make it. No one's having good luck this time for some reason with that transporter. And the Nomad pops over itself when it hits the top of the truck, goes sideways. That could be it for them as well. This could be it. Tractor Digger's going down to end that jump. But we still got 2 more cars to go down right now, so anything could happen. It is not over until it's over. 77 Dodge van is up. The van gives a big hit to that digger, but can't get the transporter off the track. He backs up a bunch right there. And now we're down to the final car of this round. It's Ecto-1. If Ecto-1 stays alive, their team makes it. If he doesn't, then Sugar Crash is gonna be our final team. Let's see what happens. Ecto-1 hits that van and just very nicely locks into the track. Very safe. And that is gonna lock our final 3 teams who are moving on to the Junkyard Joust. Industrial Accidents, They See Me Rollin', and Weiner Magic are all making it out of this. Industrial and Rollin' still have 2 cars apiece. That's gonna make They See Me Rollin' number 1 with 32 points. They're just gonna barely eke past Industrial Accidents for the number 1 seed. And now it's time for something new here on Junkyard Joust. The MVP of this qualifier has to be Revrod. Revrod hit that jump on the transporter every time and flawlessly recovered every single launch. That is an amazing achievement, and it deserves a little extra mention. Revrod's incredible agility on the field is what pushed They See Me Rollin' up to first place. Congrats to Revrod. These 3 teams are going to move on to the Junkyard Joust. We just have 1 qualifier left before the mayhem begins. And here are your first, second, and third seeded teams. There's just 3 teams to add to this list before we're ready to go. Things are really starting to heat up at Junkyard Joust. Thank you so much to all my patrons at every level. You guys are the reason that I can keep making this show for you, and I hope you'll join me next time for the final qualifier. This has been Aaron Yonda. Cheers and have a good one.